So this is the first narrative-driven game by Asobo Studios. It was directed by Kevin Chateau and music by Olivier de Riviere. Man, I hope I don't butcher these names. The music is fantastically put together, and the direction that they went with this game in regards to its ambience and the dread and depression that they were trying to portray was very well done. So shout out to both Kevin and Olivier for getting the mood and getting the light, the visuals, and everything put together fantastically well. Shout outs to Sobo for doing a good job for their very first narrative driven game. They're known for the crew and flight simulator, so they haven't really done a project like this before, at least from what I could tell. The game is influenced by things like The Last of Us. So if you've enjoyed The Last of Us, you would enjoy this game. It's it's a story driven game, a lot less action like Uncharted. Uncharted is a lot more action shooter. The Last of Us is a little more mellow story driven, and this one's even more mellow and story driven. So, in regards to that, let's go a little deep dive into the story. There will be spoilers in regards to this section, but just to give you a brief summary from my own experience, it takes place in 1348 in France during the Hundred Year War. Two siblings that know each other but are a little bit estranged. It's an older sister and a younger brother. It's Amicia and Hugo. They care for each other, but there seems to be a lack of love from what I could tell. For example, Amicia doesn't help Hugo, who's small. He's like a little boy. She doesn't help him get over obstacles. She'll go over herself, but she'll kind of leave him behind and kind of forget about him. And their mother has to remind Amicia, like, don't forget about him. You have to take care of him. She's like, oh, yeah. It's not that she doesn't care for him. It's just that she's not used to having him around. So, but she knows his name. So they know each other's existence. They just don't hang out with each other. It's not very clear what their relationship is in the beginning, but you can tell that there's some sort of distance between them. Um, So yeah, it's during the Black Plague, so you're gonna see a lot of influences from the Black Plague. The biggest one, obviously, being rats. Lots of rats. So the story takes place in 1348, and it's heavily influenced by the Hundred Year War and the Black Plague. It's gonna be following the story of an older sister and a younger brother. The older sister's name is Amicia, and the younger brother is Hugo. Amicia is very out there. She likes to use her slingshot. She has a slingshot that she likes to use, and she likes to, hang out with her dad. She talks about being a knight and being a hero. Hugo, on the other hand, seems to be very sensitive to headaches. He's a little bit stays more indoors. So because of that difference, they're aware of each other's existence, but they don't really hang out a lot. And so something happens where the war comes to their doorstep, and now Amicia and Hugo need to run away. And in their adventures, they get separated from their family. In their adventures, they meet other orphans as they travel along, and each orphan has their own unique, skills. One can pick a lock. One is a little bit more aggressive and can bash through a door or tackle enemies. And using a combination of, skills and alchemy and quote unquote spells that you learn along the way, you get to escape the Inquisition that's chasing you and escape the people that are looking for Hugo. There's a group of people from a church that are specifically looking for Hugo because of his unique sickness. And as the story progresses, you get to learn the origins of that sickness and you work together and you get to build that bond between brother and sister, which I thought was very well done. They do fight and bicker in the beginning like siblings, and towards the end, they start to get closer and closer. And I thought seeing that growth and character change was a good view. You get to see some characters who are afraid and timid in the beginning. Towards the end, they start becoming more aggressive, and they're like, "Come at me!" They're very they grow in their confidence to take up a challenge, which I thought was very well done. For me, the graphics are very well done. Okay, the rats are equally impressive. I think I read somewhere that they have 3 layers of rats. There's like a mesh of black rats in the background, and as you get closer and closer, the layers get a little bit more detailed. The rats in this game are just like water. It's like a liquid simulator, that thing. They come flowing out of cracks and they just come rushing out at you. And you have to hold them at bay with a light or a lantern. It looks so intimidating the first time you see them coming out. it's just crazy. The lighting and the shadows is very well put together. I felt like when you light up a room, you can like everything's dark and you light it up and you look everywhere and you're like, oh snap, right? Like you look at your environment, things you can use to escape the rats or things you can use to go around the rats, all types of cool puzzles like that. As you progress the story, the kids get grimier and grimier. You start seeing little marks on their faces just because you're just trekking through mud, blood, and corpses to get to where you want to go. Some of the movement is a little weird. Uh, it is a stealth driven game. Amicia will go down to like a stealth mode, and then sometimes I'll accidentally hit like her slingshot, which causes her to stand up. And sometimes the animation moving between both modes, I don't know, she seemed like a robot. Like she didn't seem human. Everything else is dynamic, beautiful, cutscenes so well put together. Everybody's moving like they should be. It's just that's something that caught my eye. When she was doing stealth mode, she would look a little weird. There are some funny moments where you're holding Hugo's hand and you're both in stealth mode and you guys are moving in sync, left, right, left, right, left leg, right leg, left leg, right leg. You guys can do like a little dance. I thought that was pretty funny. It's not bad. It's not bad, but it does pull you out of the immersion, right? Um, there are moments where I feel like I am in the scene and I'm like, oh man, this is intense. And then I'll catch something like that. It's things like that that pull you out of the immersion. But overall, very well done. Towards the beginning of this game, I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but towards the beginning of the game, when Amicia is scared, her heart is beating, the controller is vibrating. That was so good. I felt the intensity of that scene. It was fantastically well done. But anyways, overall graphics is good. The music is fantastic. The sound is really well done. You'll be hearing the music play in the background as the thunder strikes. The music goes right. I'll play it somewhere in here somewhere.
No, run! This is crazy!
Again, gameplay reminds me of The Last of Us. It is a stealth-based game with some minor puzzles. NPCs react differently depending on how many times you ding a bell or something. So if you hit a rock into something, they'll be like, "Oh, what's that?" And then you'll miss your chance. So they see you throw the rock again. They'll be like, a second time. And then you miss your chance for whatever reason, and you throw a rock again, hitting the same spot 3 times to distract them. They're gonna be like, "Okay, hey boys, squad up," right? So they'll call a whole gang of people or knights or fellow knights to come to the area to look around and be like, "What's causing all this ruckus over here?" I thought that was really cool. Just seeing the NPCs naturally react how somebody would, where they're hearing too much noise, they're like, "This is kind of weird." I thought that was kind of cool. Um, Eventually, though, I did die enough times in the same spot, and you can memorize patterns. So it's a stealth game, so you have to sneak through certain parts. And if I died enough times, it came to the point where it was so routine that eventually I could just like speed run, sneak, sneak, sneak right through the enemies. There wasn't a lot of diversity in regards to how they walk or where they start or how they move. There were some times where if I was moving too fast, right, I was just trying to, I've died like 5 times. I just want to get over this part. If I'm moving too fast, the NPCs, my allies, would would have to hit certain cues that I'm passing too fast. So eventually they would be going too slow and would get caught, and it's out of my hands. They got caught on their own. I'm sneaking perfectly well. They get caught. They get killed. Now I have to restart again. And that got a little frustrating at sometimes. And then sometimes if I was moving too fast, sometimes when I was moving too fast, if you kill a guard, rats will go to eat the body. There would be times where I kill a guard like on a bridge, and the rats will swarm onto the bridge to kill the guard, and they won't leave. That's it, and that's the only way out. So because I didn't wait for the guard to leave the bridge, now my only way out is covered with rats, and I have to restart that whole scenario. Those are the two minor gripes. Again, because I'm moving too fast. If you're playing the game at the pace you're supposed to play, and you don't die as much as I did, you wouldn't have noticed these things. But because I kept dying and I wanted to move faster and get it over with, once I died over and over again, and I'm like, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. That's when I hit these few speed bumps. There's a little bit of diversity when it comes to gameplay. You get to learn some alchemy, so you get to learn how to make fire, you get to learn how to put out fire, so extinguish and lighting, and other cool tools in between that I don't want to spoil here. Um, It felt like every time you learned a new one, though, you were supposed to use it for that chapter, and then I was never really using one or two. I was never using more than two at a time. You end up with like six, eight. I don't know off the top of my head. You end up with like six or eight of them, and you're only using like two. You're using like one through the whole game, and another one here and there. They don't. I feel like there's not enough utilization for the tools that they've given you. There is one fight scene towards the end where you have to switch between this one and then that one and this one and now a different one and you got to switch to the other one. Oh, he's coming! You got to pick this one, and it's just like oh that pump that fight or flight response. Where I was like, oh, I gotta use the fire. Now I gotta use extinguish. Now I gotta use this. Now I gotta do that. Now I gotta bring him over here. And now I gotta use this. Oh, it's on fire again. Extinguish. Oh, I gotta set this on fire now. Right? That was so cool. That was a lot of fun. Running away and using more than two or three of these different alchemy skills that I needed to do to fight this character. And I feel like that intensity was lacking up until that fight. It was always one or two things that you would need with no real rush for switching between the two. So it wasn't the stakes weren't too high. That's minor, very minor. Again, this is a story-driven game, not much of an action game. But that fight, because of the lack of that, that fight was very memorable for me. I would like to have more scenes like that where I have to switch between three, three different things to fight one guy, and I thought that was very interesting. Amicia can upgrade her tools as she goes along in this adventure. I felt like it was like up in the air type of upgrades. Didn't really need them all the time. Didn't upgrade a lot. My gripe with this is that the same things you need to create ammo is the same things you need to upgrade. And so it's cool because you kind of have to like pick and choose whether you want to have ammo or upgrade. But I never want to be out of ammo. I always made a surplus of it. And the issue with that is every time I went to an upgrade table, I could never upgrade. I have so many upgrade packets to, upgrade, but I never had the right materials to do so. So, in regards to replayability, or if you want to stay in this world, this is not an open world type of game. So, you don't really have a choice to stay. Once you beat it, you beat it. You can go back and replay chapters. You can pick up flowers. You can and explore. I highly recommend you explore. There are little areas that there are little collectibles, but more importantly, Hugo and Amicia start building that bond, and you see it as you explore. You'll go off the beaten path, and you'll see Hugo play with a frog, and Amicia tells him what frogs are and things like that, or ducks, and and they have a little bit of a moment when you get off the beaten path that you will miss if you don't, step away and go investigate what's going on with that pier, or there's a little water over there, or they go under this bridge, see what they say, all that type of stuff. But yeah, once you beat the game, you can't really stay in the world. It's a story game with an ending. Replayability would depend on what you did before finishing the game. So if you take your time, you're a completionist, and you collect everything, once you beat it, you beat it. You're done. I don't see a reason, for me at least, to stay with it. I'm not one to replay games, so once I've beaten it now, I don't see a reason to go back. What I will do is listen to that soundtrack. That soundtrack was very well put together. Some of them are very well done. I'll play a few songs here and there with the scene because I don't know how the copyright stuff is here with YouTube. But ones I really liked was, I think it's called Father or The Father. It's a very mellow, nice tune. And the other one called The Rats. You get to hear the intensity of all the little rats running around, and it builds and it builds and it builds. That's a really good song to give you the mindset of what the rats sound like. If you want to collect stuff, if you want to explore more of the world, they do give you that option instead of having to restart from square one. You get to pick what chapter you want to start off. Some chapters are significantly less than others. Some will be 10 minutes, and the longest one I've had is like an hour. So 10 minutes is just some talking points. You talk to five characters, you walk around a little bit, and then it's done. And then the longest chapter would be an hour, and that's because I struggled to get through a puzzle or I struggled to get through a section. In regards to my rating, I'm on a 1 through 5 scale. One being horrible, don't buy it. Two being not really my type of game. Three would be it's okay. Four means it's really good, and five means I recommend you buy it no matter what. This is a 4 out of 5, and the reason I say that is because if you don't like slow story games. Like it's slower than The Last of Us, I want to say. I think it's a really good story game in regards to watching these kids go through a very dark time and seeing them grow from being timid kids in the beginning to being confident in accepting challenges from other people in armor. And you'll see them just go at it like, nah, we got this. We're going to do this. Is this happening? Whereas in the beginning, they're like, what's going on? What's going to happen? Oh, no. So seeing that progression, I think, was really well done. So again, shout outs to Asobo Studios, Kevin Chateau and Olivier de Riviere. I think these guys did a fantastic job. There are a bunch of other people as part of this team. For the big names that I was able to locate, this was directed by Kevin. The music was led by Olivier. So overall, you know, they work for Asobo Studios. So overall, shout out to everybody that put this together for being the first narrative-driven game for Asobo Studios. I think it's great, and I'm very highly looking forward to A Plague Tale Requiem. So thanks, guys. I do stream on Twitch Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. I would appreciate any feedback if you guys see me on there. I would appreciate you guys telling me, what I'm doing well, what I'm not doing well, games you would like to see me stream, or um, any feedback in regards to this review. Anything you think I could have done differently, or formatted differently, or something I can focus on more in the game. Maybe if I got something wrong, please let me know. But I appreciate any feedback I receive from anybody. Feel free to hit me up on Twitch at BFG on Twitch is the handle I have on there. YouTube is Big Fist Gorilla. Hello. And also on Twitter, it's BFG on Twitch. Any feedback on any of those channels, I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks, guys.